Welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. Real conversations with entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders who refuse to settle. This isn't about overnight success. It's about the decisions, discipline, setbacks, and standards that shape extraordinary results. If you're building something that matters, you're in the right place.
Hello, and welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. I am excited today to have my guest, Brandon McGill. He is the civil recruiter, and I'm excited to have him here because I want to hear how he started his business. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, it's fun to see you again. We go way back and kind of loosely stayed in touch.
Yeah.
But what's exciting is you now have the civil recruiter. Firstly, just tell us a little bit about what that is, but I really want to dig into what led you to starting the civil recruiter.
Going out and doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, I guess, what do you want me to dive into first here?
Whatever stings your heart. Tell us really quick what the civil recruiter is.
Okay.
Obviously, it has something to do with recruiting.
The civil recruiter, I am a recruiter that specializes in recruiting civil engineers. So it's kind of a play on words where, like, my personality type, I'm not a confrontational person. So civil recruiter, as well as I recruit for civil engineers.
You're so punny.
Hey.
But tell us, so 2 years you've been out on your own. Tell us what led you to diving headlong into your own recruiting company.
Honestly, I've always been entrepreneurial, so I'm always thinking of ways to do better at my, the good old job. Now it's more of a career versus a job. But I've always found ways to optimize what I do. And I take a lot of pride in the work that I do. And I just kind of got to the point where I was like, why am I doing this for somebody else when, there's not a lot on the back end of recruiting? And, basically gave myself a 20% pay increase because I'm not paying another company to work under them. It essentially was kind of my final nail in the coffin of like, I can do this on my own. Why am I paying somebody else to be doing this?
So just good old fashioned chutzpah. You're like, you know what?
Yeah, pretty much.
I can. What? So you'd been in the recruiting space before. You also had another business before.
Yep.
Right. I think that was the business we originally met.
Yep.
When we originally met.
Focus search engine marketing back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually had an old business card of that laying around here the other day. My mom found it.
You found one?
My mom found one in a drawer, and I was like, whoa, forgot about that. Okay, cool. But
isn't that funny? It's funny to come across those.
It did, yeah. I was pretty proud of my logo and stuff too. That was back in the days where I was like, yes, that looks cool. But no, so 10-ish or so years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I'm getting old. But I had my own internet marketing company. So I was Google certified. We were doing search engine optimization, building websites, doing all that stuff at that time. And then there was a point where Google made some changes for their SEO and their algorithm. I just couldn't morally charge companies to not know quite what kind of solutions and results I could get them. So I just politely bowed out before it got bad and got into recruiting. I kind of fell into recruiting. It wasn't necessarily something I knew about or knew I was going to try to get into. And found a passion for it, worked there. I did initially recruiting with the company I was a part of for about maybe 2.5 years. And then I got recruited away, funny enough, to go work in the fuel and oil space and cut my teeth in just pure outside sales, kicking in doors of shops and selling fuel and oil. And then we made the move to Idaho, and I would say my old boss / business partner asked me to come back in the recruiting space, and that's how I got reintroduced to it. Worked with him for about 2.5 years, and then just saw there wasn't really, I wanted some ownership. I wanted some stake in the game for getting something to build, and that just wasn't on the table. So decided to go out on my own.
There's a lot to unpack there. I actually want to go all the way back to your SEO days because I want to talk about how your values started to misalign, if I'm hearing you correctly, to misalign with your ability to sell something that was a little more nebulous, which is probably people's complaint about much of
it's
SEO.
Pretty much
and
the
now it's
whole
going
idea
into
of SEO, yeah.
Yeah. So talk about values and just how in all of your businesses, how you've worked to design your businesses
Yeah.
through the lens of your values. Because that's something I've been exploring with a lot of people recently that
Yeah. Well,
it's
I'm
pretty
just one that
important.
I'm, I stand on, like, I feel like I have a very strong moral compass, right? I'm
Hmm.
not out there to be taking advantage of people. That's not my goal in life, is like to chase the
Right.
ultimate dollar, to do everything I can to get the dollar. That's not my, it's just not my mentality. It's not my MO. It's not what I want my reputation to be. So,
Hmm.
when that SEO thing and the algorithm changed for Google, I just went to my clients and I was like, guys, listen, I don't know what Google's doing. I don't know what kind of results I'm going to be able to get you at this time. I am more comfortable saying, let's just stop, and I'm going to, until we figure out what's going on with this, I'm not going to bill you anymore. I'm just going to not do any more work
Oh,
until we understand what's going to happen. And it led to me just stepping away from that world, because that whole business line was a kind of the core of the business, but I just couldn't morally charge for something that I didn't know what the results were going to be.
you didn't know how to work. That's a really brave, bold choice because that can be really
Detrimental. I mean,
hard
it shut the business
to
down,
do.
but at the same time, I walked away with my head held high. Like, nobody felt like I took
Yeah.
advantage of them or anything like that. So,
So what did you do? It shut the business down. There has to be some maybe mourning or fear. There has to be something there that is a little uncomfortable in that stage, going from a business with clients that like what was that transition like for you?
still did some like Google AdWords stuff. So, like,
Hmm.
managing pay-per-click campaigns. So I didn't just like completely shut the whole business down. I just kind of transitioned. It was more of a slow transition, and I just found another opportunity, which was the recruiting thing, and cut my teeth on that. And then just did the PPC stuff as like a side gig until it ultimately became, I just trained my clients how to manage their own, and I stepped away from it completely and focused on recruiting.
Okay, so then you get into recruiting and this initially as an employee,
Yep.
correct?
Initially as an
Okay.
employee, and just making 50, 60, however many calls you can in a day back in the day. Because technology still wasn't a big thing, back then. But now
Way
it's,
back, the way
yeah,
back
not,
machine.
I still had internet, but um, it definitely was more of a grind. Like, it's recruiting is always a grind, but it was definitely a lot more back then because of the tools that you had available to you at the time. Things have gotten a lot
Right.
more available, I guess would be the best way to put it now.
So you're grinding it out, you're making a bunch of phone calls. Now, were you the type of person that loved cold
Still
prospecting,
am.
outreach, or what was
There's a screw loose in my head where I love it.
you do love it? Okay.
Yeah, I have
So
this
that for you wasn't specifically hard.
no, that part wasn't hard. It was more just like, again, trying to get that end result. Like, I'm still a very competitive person. So,
Hmm.
when I'm doing something, I'm like, no, I want to be one of the best at this, if not the best at this. And, not getting traction right away is always frustrating, because I'm like, no, I know what needs to be happening. I just need to find the right people and have the right conversations. And
I love
ultimately,
that.
that's the epitome of sales, right? Just, you got to find the right people, have the right conversations. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Be willing to kind of tweak along the way.
Yep.
Where does that competitive spirit come from?
I'm the baby, so I always had to fight for stuff. And
Usually that's a firstborn trait, but
yeah,
okay.
no, that's definitely in my family. I have two older sisters, so the sisters they got the nicer stuff, and I had to go fight for everything, which is it. I mean, honestly, I've had a great upbringing, and I appreciate how my parents raised me as the only boy, but it definitely gave me a competitive edge. Working on the farm, I know how to work until work's done. Like, it's not, I don't have, there's certain things that I can be lazy with, but when it comes to my like career, I will work myself to the bone.
Okay. Okay. Well, how do you balance that then? How do
I
you
don't know.
make
I'm
sure you
still trying to
don't
figure
work
it out.
yourself to the bone? You're
Still
still
trying to
working.
figure it
Okay.
out.
So you're recruiting, you're got a screw loose, so you're able to make an insane amount of phone calls repetitiously and you're able to
Yeah.
kind of figure it out along the way. I'm imagining you're starting to get some wins because as long as you can stay the course in sales, you'll
Yep.
get wins.
Yep.
So what is that journey? Where does that recruiting journey take you? And what bumps along the way did you experience in that early recruiting space?
Well, the early recruiting space, I wasn't a full desk recruiter. So I was just doing the cold calling, getting some people interested and passing it to a senior recruiter that would tell more about the client side, the client relation, the job itself. They would handle a lot more of the more back end stuff. I would just get them in the door and start the conversations. So that's how it was when I first got into it. And then when I got back into it, now I'm full desk recruiter. I'm doing, I'm getting the clients, taking the job orders, finding the engineers, taking them through the interview process, the whole gamut. So now
And you're on both sides, right? You're
Both
talking
sides.
both to the employers that need to fill and
I'm managing
Yeah.
client
So
relations
what would
and candidate relations.
being that you're on both sides, what challenges does that bring up for you? What challenges do you have to face, even just being in the recruiting space,
Yeah.
broadly speaking?
I mean, time management's a big one. Being able to handle both, client relations and making sure that they're happy with stuff. And then, recruiting, I still have to be recruiting. So I have to make sure that I'm getting on the phone, making phone calls, connecting with engineers, starting those conversations, and just kind of handling the process. But it all just takes time, and there's only so much time in a day. So
Yeah. I imagine you're not just 40 hours a week.
I'll put in I normally my normal office hours. I'll drop my kids off and I'll be at my desk by 8:30 Mountain Standard Time, and then I'll probably work till 4:30, 5 o'clock, and
Mhm.
then do family time. But then family goes to bed, and I usually come back downstairs and I do a couple more hours of just getting ready for the next day. So
Yeah, that's and was that intentional? Do you schedule it, or is that reactive? How do you separate
reactive.
proactive versus reactive?
I definitely
Yeah.
would say it's reactive because I feel like I have a decent gauge of where my fires are, and if they're not super
Mhm.
duper bright, then I try not to work in the evenings and just enjoy my family time and go to bed. But there's definitely times where there was not enough time in the day today. I need to go finish up my day and get out these last emails that I need to get out earlier in the day. But most of my days are every hour on the hour I have some sort of a meeting or time blocked off for recruiting, or it's my day is full.
How do you think about your time so that you can keep your work hours as proactive as possible?
I mean, it's just one of those things. Some days you want to, some days you don't, and some days
Okay.
you have to. There's no other option. So it's I'm blessed in a lot of ways. I've over the last 3-4 years of being back in back in the engineering recruiting space, I've built a pretty strong LinkedIn presence within my niche, and I have a lot of I have a lot of engineers and companies that just reach out to me and say, hey, we want to work with you to find somebody, or we want to work with you to help me find a job. And I still have to balance those calls along with recruiting calls to find people for the jobs that clients have hired me to help find people for. So it's always just a balancing act of okay, I've got 2 or 3 people in for this job. I'm gonna pump the brakes and go focus on some other things or another job and get a couple more people and do put the efforts in where the fire is the brightest, I guess.
Yeah, they say the riches are in the niches.
Oh, man,
So,
yeah.
did you set out originally to build the recruiting name in the engineering space, or was it more broad and you found
So the company
you
that I
narrowed
worked
down?
with previously and kind of cut my teeth on recruiting, their specialty is geotechnical engineering. And
Okay.
I cut my teeth in that. I, found a passion within that, being a farm kid and running heavy equipment for a good part of my younger years before I got into my career. That's what I did. I played in dirt at a very large scale. So I have an appreciation
Yeah.
for these engineers, and I wanted to be an architect or a civil engineer when I was in high school, just didn't pursue it. So I have a passion for it. And I get to live vicariously through other engineers, but I don't have to carry the liability now. So
Fair enough. How did you, when you're opening up, hanging your own shingle, how did you get your name out? I mean, because you've been doing this 2
5
years
years.
is relatively short in the scheme of
Yeah.
things. 2 years with your own name and a little
Yeah.
bit. So obviously you did things very you were aggressive in getting your name out there early on to have built this so quickly.
So what did you do? I started building my own personal brand probably a couple of years before I went out on my own. So I started just Brandon McGill, this is the company that I'm with, and building my own personal brand. And then when I decided to go out on my own, it was a huge blessing because, I had a non-solicitation agreement with my previous company where I couldn't basically work with all of my clients that I had. I had to start from scratch. Mm-hmm. And I just made the decision of like, I got money in the bank. I got a little bit of a padding. I'm going to jump. Mm-hmm. This is worth it. I'm going to jump. And, there was a little bit of a window there, was like some emotional roller coaster stuff. Cause there's a long story behind that, but the short and sweet is there's a lot of emotional stuff in that. And I kind of had to come out of the fetal position of like, this is scary. And this is not play out how I was hoping it was going to, as far as relationship with me and previous company. But, when I basically came up for air from that situation, just emotional roller coaster stuff, I announced it on LinkedIn probably about 2 weeks after I parted ways and said, hey, I'm going out on my own, the Civil Recruiter. And I launched the Civil Recruiter. And I got like right away, I had 3 companies reach out to me and be like, we need help finding people.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this is not playing out as hard as I thought it was going to be. So it's been a blessing. I haven't had, since going out on my own, I haven't had to make a single business development call to like try to talk a company into hiring me as their recruiter. Most of them have already contacted me, or I've come to them with an engineer that I've been working with, and I'm saying, hey, I've got the guy. If you want him, here you go. And they decide to work with me past that. So
I want to go back to the emotional roller coaster piece and just have you expand on that, because
flashback here, Marjorie. Goodness,
I know. Well, and that is, I think anybody who has gone out on their own from some version of a safety net has experienced that. And so walk us through some of what you experienced in that, and what were some of the challenges in that transition time?
Honestly, it was an emotional roller coaster of what it was more for me. I wasn't necessarily scared to do it because, like I said, I've had my own business before, so I was just like, I know what this is going to take. I just need to go do it. And when I parted ways from previous company, I tried to leave on the best terms possible, just saying like, hey, this is a business decision. I hope we can still find a way to work together. It just no longer is making sense for me to be a part of this team. And it took a turn I didn't expect it to take, and started getting legal letters and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, geez, we don't need to do this, but whatever. And so that was more of just like that, like rip the Band-Aid off, and I should have just emotionally detached at the time and probably would have went a lot smoother. But there were just those emotions of like, was a friend, would have still considered a friend.
Yeah. Loyalty.
Yeah. And then it's just like, hard stop. It's like, okay, I mean, it is what it is. That's not my choice. I can't control the other side of that relationship. So that was more of that. And then I finally just was like, you know what? I'm no longer involved with that. So wipe my hands clean, and I need to go do what I need to do and take care of my family. And then so I just kind of, after that first initial like gut check, it was like, all right, it's go time. Let's go. And it has taken off since then. So
how has that colored your desire to scale with other recruiters in your organization?
I still want to grow it, but I want to handle it differently. When I was with the previous company, I didn't have a lot of support. And my ideas and stuff like that just always just like went to the round can. So I was just like, I just don't want to be the guy that is telling people like my way or the highway. I'm not going to give you any tools. If you want your tools, you got to pay for them. And that's kind of the ultimate, for me, that was kind of the decision maker of like, I'm paying for all of my own tools. I'm paying for pretty much everything. And then I'm also paying 20% to the company that I'm supporting. So that was kind of my looking at just the business decision side of like, what am I doing? I'm running my own business, but I'm paying 20% to have not much. So that was my ultimate time.
One of the things I've noticed is if you're going to bring on, entrepreneurial people who tend to have like a kind of a go-getter spirit, they want to be involved collaboratively. Like the whole has to be greater than the sum of the parts. You can't bring on someone with an entrepreneurial mindset and then give them an employee type role. And the opposite is also true.
I agree. And what I ultimately want to do with my team is give people autonomy to be like, okay, I'm the geotechnical side and I do some tunneling. We need help. People are calling us for water, wastewater. I need a specialist for water, wastewater practice, and let them own that practice and help them with creating content, give them the tools to reach out to engineers. Like, that's what I want to be able to do, is empower people rather than hold them back and say, we have our processes, but I want you to still make it your own, because it is your face. It's your, it's your reputation attached to mine. So we have some criteria we'd like to stay within, but own your space. Like, go do it. That's how we ultimately grow the business, and everybody can, kind of have their piece of ownership by having your practice that you're playing in.
I love that. And you had some interesting experience prior to, or sandwiched in between some of the recruiting. What did you say about oil and gas?
Yeah, so I worked for, I think it's the largest distributor for fuel and oil in the Northwest, Carson Oil back in the day. Yeah, so I was the outside sales guy. Like, they had the hunter-gatherer kind of a sales team, and I was the pure hunter. I didn't do anything with account management. I just went and found new accounts and won new accounts, and then passed them on to my account manager to have them manage. So definitely, the whole cold calling thing, makes it even more interesting when you're doing it in person.
Did you have to teach yourself that drive to like and be willing to do that, or you've just always had that?
It's always like, back in junior high and grade school, we had like the magazine sales for fundraisers and stuff. I was always the top person for that in school too. So I've always had that, like, oh, I can go do this. I can win. And that was just like, it's how I would get I'm just competitive. So I was like, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to be good at this. And that's always been my kind of mentality of, especially when it comes to sales, because that's like, no, this is fun.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you continue to learn and refine sales? Because you had a lot of sales roles before you went into owning your own business.
Yeah.
So that's, it's funny. I was talking to someone a couple shows ago who is a fractional CFO, and he was talking about how a lot of people will come with the great ideas, but they're not able to sell them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how great your idea is if you're not able to sell it.
Yeah,
and it really seems like that's been your advantage in a lot of ways, is that you've always leaned all the way into the sales side. So you obviously were willing. How did you learn the technical side of sales, or how did you learn to become really a sales professional first?
I mean, when I went out and did like the search engine marketing stuff, right? That was just like, I happened to run into an opportunity that taught me kind of that space, and it was just get on the phone, make the calls. Here's your script to kind of stick to initially. And then I've always learned to kind of just like, okay, I get what you're trying to do here. I'm going to make it my own so it works for me. And that's what I've always kind of done, is like, I'm sticking to the main baseline of what you want me to do, but I'm finding ways to make it my own and get great results out of it. And I've always had pretty good success with that aspect of like, I get the foundation, I'm going to make it a little bit my own so it works best for me. And then off to the races we go.
Which is, as someone who's taught sales a lot of years, something I try to coach people on is the script is there so that you can find a system that works, but certainly you have freedom within to make it yours. But don't
go so far off the path that you're
don't miss the psychology, because some people are so afraid of being salespeople that they miss why the pieces of the script worked in the first place. So, but it sounds like some of that just came natural, and then your competitive side, and then just a willingness to like do the repetitions. Yeah. Were you ever leading or training or onboarding or helping to onboard newer salespeople in any of your roles that you had to kind of pass that on to them?
When I was at Carson selling the fuel and oil stuff, I was the top sales guy there. And a lot of the new guys would come to me and be like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And I pushed the boundaries of my managers there, because they would train us one way and I would find my way to make it my own still. And they didn't always like it, but it always worked. So it was, I was like, oh, this is what I do. Don't tell so-and-so that this is what I do, but this is what's going to happen. So
like, stop telling our new guys, but it's working.
But it works. Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like, I would always kind of be close to the chest and try to be mindful of, hey, this is what management wants you to do. I can walk you through it. Here's the process. And then if they'd actually go on ride-alongs with me, they'd be like, how did you do that? How did you get in the door? How did you find the right person? And it really just boils down to, I'm not scared to ask. It's always a no if you don't ask.
We need a highlight, underscore, asterisk, bold
100%.
that, because it's always a no if you don't ask, and you weren't afraid to ask. That's the biggest starting point. It's not the only thing, but it's the biggest starting point.
And especially with like younger sales guys, a lot of them come in with their tail already between their legs, and they're scared to ask anything. They're like, oh, I'm scared. Like, you're going to kick me out. But like, what if they don't? So just go in assuming that they're not going to kick you out, and just have a normal conversation with them. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. Do you guys need help? How can I help you? Most people are going to be okay with that. Just don't go in being like, I've got the best solution, the used car salesman type approach. Don't do that. Go in like a person.
And I'm the best.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I never wear the gold chain and unbutton my shirt more than I need to.
So in addition to not being afraid to ask, because that's obviously foundational, what were some of the things that you found worked for you that maybe weren't as conventional as what everybody was being taught?
It's tough to teach persona, but I honestly feel like that's a big part of it. Like, I don't come in aggressive. I just come in with a smile on my face and start a conversation. I mean, you never know where those conversations
You're humble yet confident.
Yeah. Like, I know that I'm good at what I do, but I don't know if what I do is going to be your best solution. So I don't know that. So I just start asking, what's the word I'm looking for? Just start asking questions, like discovery questions. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. Just like, hey, what are you doing? What company you're using? How many, back when I was doing it, I was like, how many gallons a month are you going through? Like, what's your pain points as a shop, as a, trucking company? What's your pain points? How can I help? And just dive into that with them. And if you approach it from that perspective, rather than just like, oh, I am the solution, usually people will open up and at least give the opportunity to try to win their business.
Love that. So it's curious questions. You're not afraid to ask curious questions. You come in unassuming, like, I'm going to fix your world. You're not assuming that, but you are confident that you're good at what you do. Yeah. And so that confidence gives you the right, if you will, to just be curious and inquisitive. I think that's a lot to unpack. And I think you've distilled a large part of the essence of sales that is, to me, it dispels what any fears people should have. Yeah. Because do you believe in what you do? I mean, yes. And
you believe in yourself.
And do you know your space?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big part of it, is just knowing that, I can help you is the biggest thing. Like, to me, that's my biggest mentality, I think, is like, even when I'm reaching out to engineers and companies now, I'm like, hey, I can potentially help you. I'm confident that I can, because I've done it for hundreds of other engineers at this point. So I can't help everybody. But that's how we, you start the conversations, you build the relationships, and then, at some point, something's going to come up that you're like, oh, shoot, I know the guy that's a perfect fit for this.
Yeah.
And it works out great. I mean, I had an engineer that reached out to me, it's probably 2 months ago now, from the whole beginning of when he actually reached out to me. And he was up in Alaska, and he was just like, Brandon, look at your content on LinkedIn, and I just want to have a conversation with you. I'm not necessarily looking for a new opportunity, but I want to know kind of where I stand in the market. I know Alaska's a little bit of an island compared to the lower 48, but I just want to know where I stand in the market and have a conversation. And we did. We dove through it, talked to him about where he's at in his career, how much money he's making, what he's looking for next, like if the right thing came up. And that's where we left it. We're just like, great, man. Well, I don't have anything in Alaska. And if you're not motivated, I don't really need to go try to find you something in Alaska, And then, like, a week and a half later, I had a company call me from Alaska saying, we need to find a senior geotechnical engineer. Do you know of anybody? And I was like, oh, hold on, let me make a phone call. Made a phone call and connected them, and he accepted his offer. He started the 6th of this month, but it was like an
Wow.
unassuming engineer reaches out to me. I just get to know him, start the relationship, understand what he wants next in his career. Company calls me and says, we need this person.
Yeah.
And I just went, light bulb, let's connect them. And it played out great for both parties so far. So,
which is like, again, you never know when the seeds you plant are going to grow
like the
and
redheaded Johnny
not burn
Appleseed.
bridges. And so you've mentioned a few different times LinkedIn and content creation. And what's been your advantage or secret sauce in that? Because you are doing a lot in that space.
So it's kind of my main platform. I don't really do anything else anywhere else. So we started some YouTube stuff, but it just kind of died off. But LinkedIn is my main hub where I connect with most of the people that I'm interviewing and dealing with. And now it becomes referrals because other people are watching my LinkedIn stuff. But I've been pretty consistently making content that is relevant to my space that I recruit in for about the last 4 years now. So
is it video content?
It's a mix of
content?
Kind of everything. It's text,
Okay.
It's images, it's newsletters that I put together and put out on LinkedIn. It's video clips and video things. So I mean, we try to touch all of the points because people like content in different ways. So you try to just touch all the bases. But when I got back into recruiting, my LinkedIn network was pretty minimized because when I was doing the fuel and oil stuff, it was not a space I was on. I cleaned house and I had like 20, I think I started back in recruiting. I had 2,500 connections on LinkedIn.
Wow.
It's a good number, right? But it's not an astronomical number. And, over the last 4 years, I just looked the other day, I have 31,000 followers on LinkedIn just by putting out content, connecting with people consistently, having real conversations that are specific to my industry, talking about pain points of hiring managers and hiring teams and engineers and what they run into in their career and their sticking points. And that's all we really talk about. And yeah, we talk about some of the same topics multiple times, but it's the reality. And you gotta, connect with people in different ways and different avenues to tell similar stories in different ways. So we go through that and continually put out content. I'm posting almost daily during the week on LinkedIn. I don't hit people on the weekends. I try to take my weekend too, but pretty consistently posting on LinkedIn, directly talking to our market. And we get a lot of people that come to us, both companies looking for people and engineers that are looking for help. So it's a big blessing to be able to build that.
I love that. And I want to go a little deeper on this because there's also, some people don't know where to start with content. Some people don't feel like it's polished enough to start. You came with a little bit of an SEO background, which isn't necessarily the exact same thing, but there's obviously,
it was definitely an advantage.
But so how did you start? And what would you tell people that maybe have fears about starting or maybe don't know how much to post or what kind,
I would say as far as consistency is the biggest thing. So if you're going to decide that you're going to post, 2-3 times a week, just commit to doing that. And then you'd be surprised how quickly it turns into, I have content that I can put out daily. And I have it scheduled to, for sure, I'm going to be putting out 3 times a week. Like it's scheduled. We have the content created. It is scheduled to go out 3 times a week. And then there's times that I run into, have a conversation with an engineer and I'm ready to market somebody and I'll put another post out in the midst of the scheduled stuff. So I'm probably posting 7-8 times a week at this point. Just here's my original content. Here's my today content of this engineer that I spoke with and was looking for a new opportunity, stuff like that. But it's definitely turned into, and how you get started. I'm a firm believer in just jump. And if you don't just jump and start, then it's never perfect. To this day, I don't feel like my content is perfect, but I just do it. And it resonates with people because it's real. If it's so fine polished, people don't click with it as much.
Yeah. I was talking with another guest that we talked about the importance of I think she said scrappy, not crappy.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't always have to be the most
I don't have crazy
fancy
intros
ish
for
or the
my
most.
videos and exit stuff. It's just like, hey, this is me. Let's talk about this topic real quick, and I'm out. That's what it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you think your content has changed a lot over the couple years you've been doing it, or have you stayed pretty
Stayed
similar?
pretty
Like, has it?
consistent with the type of content and kind of the messaging
Okay.
and I want to say persona, I guess. Like,
hmm
I've had great feedback from what we've been doing, so I don't necessarily want to change it up. It warms up a lot of calls with how I put myself out there, talk to people, the way that I have my messaging set up. People just like people reach out to me that I've never talked to before. And like, I feel like I already know you because I've been watching your content for the last year. You're the only recruiter that I want to work with when I decide to go. And I'm like, cool. Who are you? Like, it's, you have some of those where like people follow me, but I may not be
Yeah.
connected with them. And then when they come time, they connect with me and start a conversation. But it's a lot warmer conversation because it's not like, who are you? I need to learn to trust you.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're from or anything like that. It's like, no, this is me. I get to talk about stuff, and if you like it, great. If not, sorry.
Well, and you're hitting on why making authentic, not overly polished
Yeah.
content is so important in the first place.
Yeah.
Because
It's relational.
what you just described, people call you and they know you already.
Yeah.
If it's so, glossed out,
Yeah.
glossy
If it's so
and
polished,
fancy and
people are
flashy.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when they call you, they're like, that's not who I
Yeah.
thought I was
Yeah.
getting. And now they're actually getting who they thought they were
Yeah.
getting
Yep. I
because
call
you're
people man.
authentic and you just do it.
People call me and I'm like, hey man, what's up? It's like immediately
Yeah.
walls come down and they're like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm supposed to be talking to a recruiter. I'm like, yeah, what do we got going on?
Yes.
How can I help you? So it definitely
I
helps.
love it. Well, talk me through, because you're obviously a very relentless entrepreneur. You've always had that spirit about you. How do you stay relentless in the face of the ups and downs of just owning a business, of things go wrong even when we do everything right? What helps you stay motivated, relentless, and all that?
Got 3 mouths to feed. Like, I can go and I can not eat, but I got to feed my family and put a roof over their head. So that's
Mm.
probably my biggest just personal motivator. And then I just don't like losing. So there's not like, I'll do a lot of things and run myself ragged to not lose.
Yeah. Do you know where that drive to win comes from, or you just kind of always had it?
My middle sister, I love her to death. And I like her and I are very similar, but she definitely she was the athletic one. She's always been successful. And I definitely have learned a lot from both her and my dad. Like, my dad's gone through some trials and tribulations and has always found a way to come out on top. And I think that it's been a lot of just like my upbringing and the relationships that I have with just my family of like, no, we're going to figure out a way to make this work and we're going to come out on top.
I love that. And Brandon, if people want to connect with you, or if they need some help from the Civil Recruiter, where best can they find you?
Search me up on LinkedIn. It's Brandon McGill, or just search for the Civil Recruiter and you will find me. Same thing if you want to, go to our website or whatever, it's thecivilrecruiter.com, or just Google the Civil Recruiter.
I love it. Well, keep crushing, man. It was so great just to pick your brain a little bit and hear how you built your business so successfully in very short order. I mean, 2 years is an incredibly
It's been a
short
blessing.
amount of time to build what you've built, but not. It's not luck, because it's really everything that's come before it.
Sure.
And all of the ways that you were a student and learning and unafraid to fail and just humbly, authentically, confidently you. So just thank you for those
Appreciate that.
lessons.
Thank
And
you.
it's been great having you on. Take care.
Happy with Margie.
Take care, man.
See you, man.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Relentless Pursuit. And if you're looking to build more discipline, resilience, and results in your own work, that's exactly what Marjorie helps leaders and entrepreneurs do through coaching, speaking, and training. If today's conversation got you thinking differently about how you want to show up, you'll find links to connect with Marjorie in the show notes. Until next time, stay relentless.